Shuichi Tempo, an Ace Attorney and Elite Beat Agents fanfiction. A note from the author. Shuichi Tempo was originally written and posted in installments, with the prologue posted in July 2007 and the epilogue posted in April 2008. This is an edited version, reworked for better prose, flow, and comprehensibility. The story takes place between Justice for All and Trials and Tribulations. It contains spoilers for the first two Phoenix Wright games. Canon from Trials and Tribulations onwards is ignored, mostly. In the Elite Beat Agents timeline, this fic takes place before A Christmas Gift. However, detailed knowledge of EBA game canon is not necessary to make sense of Tempo events. Chapter 1. For all the polish in the life of an agent, crisp formations, rehearsed moves, the ridiculous cool factor of a hoverpad or a jetpack, Jay liked patrol work best. Just rhythms and beats to follow wherever they pulled him. Just his own footfalls on concrete and good honest sweat dampening his back. He roamed the city's back passages, exploring on cat-quiet feet, watching the world through tinted shades. As an agent, Jay was an enigmatic friend to all. The park's sandy path led him closer to someone's faltering beat, someone in trouble, full of hot blooming worry and frantic awareness. Jay sped his pace, and the oak trunks vanished. The canopy's dappled light blurred. He saw, felt, and breathed only music. The target thrummed nervously. She walked on age-stiff joints, and a presence followed her, someone rapidly skewing from friend to foe. Her name ghosted on Jay's tongue, nothing but round consonants. A frail-built woman, arthritis-gnawed hands, with fear liquid in her heart, and a cry trembling in her throat. "Help!" she cried. She needed an agent. Jay stopped, skidding on leaves, snapping into basic position. Guitar's growl flowed through him, and his blood kept time. He tightened his grip on the microphone's hilt and began. "Makes me that much stronger." Suspicion and a ragged man looming closer. Step and tap, sweep an arm and snap his head to match every driving note. "Makes me work a little bit harder." She turned, quivered with new courage, and wide hands came anyway, with a snarled demand for what she carried. Hop and shimmy. Flow with the bass line and press harder, brighter. "Makes me that much wiser." A grab for her purse, but she blazed now, her rhythm beating strong. A swing of the purse, a scolding cry, and a startled choke in response. Defensive strikes bubbling upwards through her memory's depths. Repeat the moves, measure and mirror. A flick of hips and finishing step, and Jay pointed at the world, at the audience. The terror fled, and she stood breathing hard and grinning. "So thanks for making me a fighter." The beats faded like a passing rumble of thunder. The urgency bled away, and Jay stood in a calm forest grove, his limbs singing with adrenaline and sensing the woman's rhythm falling back to routine. Another job well done. He wiped hot sweat from under his pompadour and smiled broader. He wouldn't trade the long days and aching muscles for anything in the world. Onward then, to find another target, someone else in need of a helping hand. The park path opened in front of him, and Jay looked ahead at the distant, heat-shimmering asphalt of the street, the stinging glint of cars' chrome in the midday sun. Traffic murmured, somewhere beyond the park trees. It was open out there. Too open. Any number of idle glances could snag on him. Pausing, shifting his weight onto one leg, Jay combed his memories of the terrain, every alley and footpath and side lot. Foster Park curved over bush-thick hills and down a creek's shallow bed. His socks would squelch wet with every step afterwards, but a little water never... Shock flared red from the corner of Jay's senses. He looked towards it, at breeze-fluttering oak leaves and a sparrow sailing past, and open columns of sun, and the sensation dulled and faded away. Too brief to be anything serious, Jay hoped. Maybe a hiker coming across an especially hairy bug, or a coordinator remembering something about whatever huge gathering was milling at the park center. There were hundreds of rhythms out that way, blurring amiably together. Maybe a wedding or something. Definitely no going over there for Jay then. Gazes crept on his skin, under the agent's suit. He looked back to the street, tried the maps in his head, and couldn't remember the streets' names, just their sprawling directions. That diner was nearby, he knew that much. He remembered its cluttered alleys full of the muddled, wonderful scent of food cooking, the starchy, frying smell, and visions of glistening hot French fries. And thinking along those lines meant break time had arrived. A good music rush could hide even the most determined hunger pang, after all. Jay lifted a hand towards his earpiece. A quick check-in with Missy, her chirp of permission, and Jay could... And then fear ran hot across his mind. Not just fear, but desperation, terror. Close enough to sting nettle sharp, but moving away, across the road and into the shadows. Someone scared and running, and it gripped Jay to sink claws into his heart. He ran, but the asphalt loomed ahead, and he jerked to a stop. Open space. Witnesses. He couldn't, but he had to. Someone was drowning in that fear, and it keened suddenly. Pain, dazzling agony. A mouth opening to spill voice. Help! They needed help! They didn't say it, but Jay knew. Movement in the open meant blending in. He was wearing a suit, there was a wedding nearby, and that coincidence would have to do. He tore off his shades, dropped his mic, and ran. Into the sun and heat and acrid colors. Beats hammered up ahead of him. Road and sidewalk flowed under his pounding feet. He was surrounded by tall shadows and hulking boxes, but the sensation was moving again. A flicker of pain, a trace slithering away, and it was gone. The baseline dwindled to nothing, and Jay stood on alley dirt, alone with his own deafening pulse. A false alarm? It couldn't be. He knew when people needed help, knew better than anyone, and the soul couldn't lie. The target must have just gotten away, farther away than one agent could pinpoint. Jay looked around, and the details formed in the shadows for him. Fence boards, cardboard's edges, darkness. A vacuum hung where songs should have been. He grabbed for memory, for scraps of color and feeling. Something, somehow, had gone wrong here. Police! Put your hands up! Flashlights strobed suddenly on the fence ahead, and eyes bored into Jay's back. Had he really attracted that much attention? He was just a friendly neighborhood elite beat agent. But that couldn't help him now. The world didn't know. They couldn't know the truth. One wrong word out of Jay could reveal what people just wouldn't understand. His training spoke to him in the commander's voice.
Don't run. Don't resist. You're never alone.
Jay's hands rose, empty. Too empty. And the footsteps closed in. Murder stood out stark in the droning voices. Cuffs bit his wrists. The back of the squad car swallowed Jay. He ached for teammates at his flanks. The police asked if he understood his rights, and he picked careful words.
I need a lawyer.
To Each a Tempo was written by Pyrasaur. Ace Attorney and Elite Beat Agents are owned by Capcom and Inis, respectively. The narrator for this story is Genndy C.O.G. The voice of Agent J is also Genndy C.O.G. The voice of the police officer was yet again Genndy C.O.G. The voice of Commander Kahn was still Genndy C.O.G. I'm not the only voice actor in this, I promise. The song sung in this chapter was Fighter by Christina Aguilera. Seriously, listen to chapter 2, there's a lot more people. I mean, yeah, I'm still the narrator and such, but there's more people. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next week.